Welcome to another episode of Life and Whiskey. As always, I am Jordan, and in the last video, I talked about how I'm going to use this Panasonic Lumix camera. It's model DMC-FS15, and I bought this in 2010, so it's already a fairly old camera. I'm going to use this to hopefully record some video while I'm elk hunting with some buddies over the coming 2 weeks of elk season that I got set aside. And then I mentioned that I have not bought any more whiskey or anything. I'll get to the store here pretty quick and go buy a couple of new bottles, but I got about, 40, 50 bottles sitting down here that need drinking, so start working on that as well. But one of the things that I did, meantime, I got 3 infinity bottles going. I got 1 upstairs, 2 down here. So we'll look at one of the 2. So I like the larceny bottle. I like the look of that. And this is my bourbon bottle. And in the next video, we'll look at my other one. But basically, I have a little bit of most of the bourbons that I have reviewed in this bottle. If there was a strong flavor in a bottle that I didn't really like, I did not include that bottle in here. But for the most part, many of the whiskeys I have tried, especially bourbons, big brand bourbons, they tend to kind of go right down the middle of a singular bourbon profile. Or in my opinion, they go one of 2 ways. They're either brown sugar and corn and oak, or they're this floral apple, green apple, light fruit sweetness with a little bit of oak, right? So those are like the 2 spectrums, and I always talk about how I think that Buffalo Trace is kind of like this iconic flavor profile where it's floral, sweet, light fruit, kind of over on this side. And then like the Ezra Brooks 90 that I had, or let me see if I got one in here. Or JTS Brown, that's a really good one. That leans really corn heavy, right? So that is a very corn heavy flavor profile. I don't have a bottle of that. I have not reviewed it. So I'm counting on my hunting partner to bring out a bottle this winter when he comes out. But that's a really corn heavy one. And actually, now I'm talking through this, there's one other flavor profile that also can be put in there, and that's like the Evan Williams cherry profile, where it's kind of either a medicinal cherry or a fruit cherry. I would say those are kind of the 3 main profiles you're going to find in bourbon. I like them all. I do tend to stay inside of a real heavy tannin oak flavor. That's not my favorite direction. But most major brands don't take it that direction, because that's also not the preference of most people who either aren't very serious about whiskey or aren't looking to nerd out on it. They want something that's sweet and drinkable. So they tend to go either into the corn, the cherry, or the floral direction, and then they almost always have hints of vanilla and caramel. Sometimes you get a little butterscotch in there. And once again, the dang AC turned on. So I'm going to pause the video and and then go upstairs and turn off the AC, and then we'll continue this conversation. So hold on, bear with me. All right, we are back after that calamity of an AC unit going off. Hopefully this time we won't get interrupted. I turned it off, so should be able to get through it. So I think I got about, 15 or 20 whiskeys in this bottle. A little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit more of things I like, a little bit less of things I wasn't as over the moon for. But they all kind of tended towards that Buffalo Trace style stuff where it was a little bit sweeter. There is a fair amount of Jack Daniels in here also, because essentially Jack Daniels is bourbon anyways. and just a little bit different. And so we'll see where this goes. Not really sure what the flavor profile of this is. But you know, when you make an infinity bottle, I always like to pick a bottle that I think looks kind of cool. Label it with what it is. This one's bourbon. Next video I do will be my rye. I'll make one with scotch. And sometimes, you know, I like to mix things together as well. I'll mix the scotch and the bourbon, whatever it is you want, a flavor profile that kind of melds together. I would not suggest taking a super smoky scotch and then trying to mix it with, I don't know, an Irish that's really light or something like that, unless you want that dominating flavor to just take over. So anyways, I, put little parts, little bits into each bottle, a little this, a little that, whatever. And then the key is you kind of got to let it meld, let it marry together for a while. I'd give it about a week. Now, it's not necessary to do, but if you just dump two whiskeys together like I did in my, mixing cheap budget whiskey videos, the flavor characteristics will still most of the time be fairly distinguishable, right? Like you'll have column A and column B, or whiskey A and whiskey B. It won't be whiskey C with a combined flavor. And also, sometimes you think you want a specific profile, and you'll get it if you mix, this characteristic of whiskey A and this characteristic of whiskey B. Well, sometimes when you put those two together, whiskey C that is created doesn't have either of those characteristics in it. Or you'll find that, something that you thought had like a really awesome mid palate will just vanish and it'll go super thin and flavorless in the middle. Or if it has a really strong sweet note, sometimes that gets buried and hidden under a really oaky flavor that wasn't in either of the whiskeys. So, just something to be aware of, but that's half the fun. That's why most infinity bottles, you take that last little pour in a bottle, or some people take the neck pour. I've done it all different ways, but just take that last little bit and just start blending it, and then keep it going, right? So like this bottle's pretty much full as you drink it down, and you get new whiskeys, add those in there, and the flavor's constantly changing then. And, it's just something fun to do. So, for me, this has, it has that Buffalo Trace smell to it. So, that tells me that there's a lot of ancient age whiskey dominating in here, because that is the whiskey that I put in here. I did not have Buffalo Trace itself. That also tells me that Benchmark was another one that I had that has some of that same flavor in there. So this bottle really leans hard to that floral, sweet, light fruit, vanilla with just a hint of oak on the end. That's the direction that this goes. And like I said, so Ancient Age, Benchmark, number 8's in here. Jack Daniels, which also leans that direction for me, although if you watch that review, you'll see that I said that has like banana Laffy Taffy, and I mean like hard banana Laffy Taffy. That's not coming out in the smell so much, in the nose. And now that it's opening up a little bit, getting a little more oak, you can see it's got a little bit of viscosity to it, so it's got some of that Ezra Brooks in it. That was a fairly viscous, oily whiskey. Now, as far as flavor goes, that palate is pretty awesome. It's oak forward, definitely Ezra Brooks 90 oak forward. You get a little hint of that banana right after the oak from the Jack Daniels, and then it goes into sweet caramel, vanilla, and then into that Buffalo Trace. There's a heavy middle floral note, light honey, light fruit, apple, kind of in that middle that prolongs. And then at the end, it goes black pepper and oak, and that's underlain with a nice light spice. Sorry, I said spice, I meant sweet. It's underlain with a sweet. Now, the Ezra Brooks 90 bumped up the proof on this a little bit. But I must have a fair bit of it in there because it has a very similar overtone of that. It has some ethanol forward in there, whereas a lot of those other whiskeys don't really have that. But with that ethanol being forward, all those flavors are very smooth and rounded and have blended together very, very nicely. So this is a really nice drinking whiskey, in my opinion. And it's something that's pretty easy to create, and I highly encourage you, go out, try creating your own infinity bottle with what you got. You can do like what I said and put the last pour of each bottle in, put the neck pour of each bottle, or you can just go crazy and just go, I want, and just start dumping in whatever proportion you want. There's no right or wrong way to do it, but infinity bottles are great projects, and I highly encourage you giving it a try. You know what? Thanks for watching. I'm going to end the video there. And as always, please like and subscribe to the channel. If you like this, or if you know somebody who would, please share this. Feel free to share this on other social media platforms. I myself am not really on social media anymore. I am on minds.com if you go to life_and_whiskey. And I'm uploading my videos there as well as on YouTube. And yeah, please engage with the content. You know, put a comment down below, your thoughts on infinity bottles or other content you'd like to see. And as always, thanks for watching, and I hope you have yourself a great day. I'll catch you on the next video.